Hi everybody, my name is Paulina and I am the creator of PRPL8, which is purple, and the 8 kind of stands for infinity, so purple infinity. Purple is the ribbon color for domestic violence, survivors, warriors, victims. So I kind of made an app based on that and a website. And so I haven't made a video, I haven't introduced the concept or anything like that much lately. But hi, welcome. I am getting ready for school right now, actually. So, you know, there's the light in the tunnel, right? You just keep on going. But today I wanted to talk about something. Something that is not much talked about in the DV community. You know, a lot of times people talk about how, you know, it's important to protect children, or how sometimes women who, you know, have been abused, or just people that have been abused become abusers. And, you know, there's a lot of facts and data to support that. And, you know, a lot of times, a lot of the abusers were abused before. And that's something that's talked about a lot. So in a way, it kind of helps us cope with, oh, this person, you know, some people, when they're being abused, they either become very patient, loving, very patient people that are, I don't want to say they become targets, but they do tend to get in relationships where they become abusive, or they become abusers because they didn't learn other coping ways, or any other ways to deal with things, or they have that power struggle within them. But then there's another topic, and that is when an abuser becomes abused. And it's funny because I would have never thought about it. And I had heard so much about the other one where it's like, oh, somebody that was abused becomes an abuser. And then which kind of is a bizarre thing. But I wanted to share an example. And then maybe you guys could also guide some light so that I can provide more knowledge for you guys. So I'll just explain a little bit about myself. I'm Paulina. I'm 31 years old, and I like walking next to the beach. I don't know. Okay. Oh yeah, and when I get nervous, I get a little bit funny. Coping mechanisms. So you can see which way I went. Wasn't the kind that became an abuser or angry. I actually became. I'm a very submissive person, but I'm learning boundaries, and that's all this other stuff that we're going to learn later on. And I'm not saying I know the answers to everything. I think that the DV community has so much to learn from each other, and we can also help educate other people on the topic, as well as some counselors who may not be too familiar with how to deal with DV victims, which will be another topic that I do want to bring up, because I have come across I've come across that actually recently, and it became very frustrating, and it wasn't good. Okay, so let's go back. So my name is Paulina. I'm 31 years old. I did grow up in a home where it was very physically abusing, and I was put down a lot. I won't say I wasn't loved, I guess, but the only way I can explain it is that who was raising me, I guess, they didn't have really good coping mechanisms. That's the way how I can just deal with it. It's like they didn't have them. And I'm not even going to dwell on it, because I know in therapy and other things are like, just get over it. No, you're not going to get over it. Everybody has their own way of dealing with things. For me, it's just, I decided to just be, you know what, they had sucky coping mechanisms. Sucks for them. I can't be hurt about it anymore. I can't. Like, I've been hurt more lately, in the last 5 years, that to me now is just like, just, I don't even care. I don't want to think about it. But it won't say it doesn't affect me, or it doesn't, there are things that don't happen that, you know, it's just, anyways, I'm blabbering. Okay. So I was married twice. The first time, we were together for 6 years, 3 engaged, 3 married. Towards the end, there was one altercation that I felt right away was like, nope. And I broke up the relationship. I admit, try to work it out. And, but I listened to my gut instinct, and I cut, and I don't want to talk bad about him or anything like that. Just, I don't. I get along with him now, and he's happily married, and everything is good for him. So cool beans for him. And then I had like 2 relationships after that. And then I met my last ex-husband, the father of my child. And I dealt with emotional and psychological abuse. And myself, I was a really strong person, very, like, I was never the kind of girl that you would be like, oh, she's just careful, you have to be careful. No, like, I grew up with an independent mom, and like I said, she wasn't the most loving, so I knew I never fit in with my family, so I was very confident in my quirkiness. I've always been quirky. I mean, my walls have like butterflies, and like, I'm quirky. It's fine. I'm okay with that. It makes me happy to be quirky. I don't try to be quirky. It's just, you should have seen me shopping today. I was getting stuff that wasn't matching. I was like, oh crap. Well, it was matching, but it was just quirky. Anyways, but that's me, and that's good, and it's okay. You know, it's what makes me me, and I like it. But anyways, it was, that relationship was very short-lived. It was scary. And it was very hard for me because I've never been in a circumstance like that where I was really afraid of somebody. And I've made videos of this before, and I've spoken about it. And that was actually one of the things that helped me out the most. Dealing with DV, it was the fact that when I was with this person, I kept everything to myself. Why? Because I felt that I couldn't tell other people, because some of the threats that he would make, I was trying to protect other people. And these people didn't know. And when we broke up, like, people were just thought that I was just, well, I abandoned them, and it was like, they're not understanding that I was trying to protect them. So I lost my family, I lost friends, and just because I got to the point to where I felt I couldn't attach myself to anybody, because I never wanted to be used in that way again. So what helped, and then, you know, with court stuff, there was just a lot of things where I felt like I wasn't being heard. I felt like there's something that happened, and I feel so alone. And I left my husband, my son was 2 months old, so him and I were together for about a year-ish. We were married 6 months, we were together a year. And it was a lot of it, of our horror was also the court stuff, where it's like I would go and there were just so many lies going on. And in my mind, I was just like, I couldn't go back. Every time I would go, I couldn't go back to work, because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, every time, like, why would he say this? Why would he lie? Why would he lie to people when, you know, it's not true? And like, you don't understand. It's really hard when you're a person that you care about someone, you're like, I thought he cared about me, why is he doing this, kind of a thing. So I was very hurt from that, and that also caused me to have more issues where I was just struggling with, I felt like it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter what I said. There was a point where I was like, it doesn't matter what I say. He's going to say this in court. And then whatever I say doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what proof I bring. None of that matters. It's whatever he says is going to, what's going to be heard, and that's it. And we struggled with the court stuff for a while. And then, we finally agreed on the divorce and visitation and this and that. During the court stuff, even his girlfriend, fiance, she was pretty aggressive in there too. It would be in line and she would just be talking smack about me or saying that I was a fake Mormon or this and that. And that really hurt because I'm like, this girl doesn't even know me. She doesn't even know my story. She's saying I'm a fake DV victim. It was hard. It's hard when something is happening and people won't believe you. And I was asked, how, what helped you in this and that. And honestly, my response is write about it in a journal or in a blog online. You can be anonymous. You can make a video. Just go to a single therapy, like a one-person therapy, or to me, I loved group therapy because it was one of those things where things would happen and somebody else would talk about, and I would feel like, hold on a second, this happened to me, and I never saw it as a form of manipulation or a form of intimidation. And then that's when you start seeing how your mind is being molded into believing that you have to deal with it, or like there's no way out, kind of a thing. You can't just tell somebody, oh, this is wrong, just you have to get out. It's not. DV is more psychological, it's more emotional, there's fear, there's so much into it. It's not black and white kind of a thing. And my main thing that I can tell somebody, and whenever I've seen anybody with this kind of issue, is just try to be there. Whether I know them or I don't know them. I remember that when I was going through it, I was alone, and it hurt so much. It hurt so much to be alone and having to process all this without having a support group. And I had my mom, but at the same time, emotionally, it was just, kind of like, get over it. You have to get over it. Like, it already happened, and, or family feeling embarrassed by the situation that you were in. And it's just, sometimes you just need to feel validated, like, hey, this happened, like, this happened to me. And I think it's really important to seek that kind of comfort, because even like if you leave a person alone in a room, they're gonna go crazy. And that's the same thing, you can't just isolate you in this whole thing where nobody's gonna believe you, nobody's gonna care, and then you just kind of hold it to yourself where it's just like you feel like you're dying inside. It's like getting a plant and not feeding it water, not giving it light. You're gonna die inside. So that's like my biggest advice to anybody that's going through DV. In that same subject, this came up because, you know how I said I'm really into about being an advocate towards trying to help people for DV. I was contacted, I noticed I was contacted, I think in March or May, by my ex-husband's fiance, but at the time she said they broke up. I found out in July that actually she had contacted me actually in February of this last year. But the thing is, she contacted me that she was dealing with DV with him and that she was afraid. And it was a thing about every other week she was texting me, and she was a flutter. And I didn't want her to feel alone. And even though I was hurt by the stuff that she did in court, and she had told me, oh, I apologize, I didn't know what you had gone through and this and that. My family, my boyfriend at the time, were telling me, you know what, you shouldn't get involved. She was a really bad person to you. She was trying to make sure that the law was unfair to you. And in a way, I thought, I can't do that. Like, I understand what's going on, but this girl is coming to me. Well, not girl, she's 30 something, 36, 37, I don't know, or 40, I don't know. She's an older woman. She was coming to me, and I thought vulnerable, asking for help. Like, how did I get over? How was I able to be where I am right now? And I was like, well, if she needs some help, I need to give her help. And I found local resources here in San Diego that I knew of. And I just pretty much gave her everything I could. And I was trying to be an ear for her to vent. And it was, she would contact me even when I was with my boyfriend. I would say, oh, I'm out with the kids and my boyfriend. She was very, she seemed to be struggling, and she would just contact me a lot. And it was, and for a while, I was starting to get very obsessive about my son and his dad, where she was pushing a lot that my son not contact him via Skype or anything like that. And I was like, okay, well, I understand that you're very stressed out, and I was really trying to be there for her. So then, I think in June, my ex-husband contacted me to have visitations through Skype with my son. And like I said, I already had a couple months of her kind of going at me, but I felt like I had no legal right to say no, because the court was very specific to me when they said you cannot deny visitation, because then you'll go to jail. So I had agreed, okay, we can Skype, but you have to make sure that you give me a letter that you are taking the necessary medication, because after everything and we broke up and everything, it ended up figuring out that he had like a personality disorder and another thing, and that's where he met his ex-fiance at the psych ward. So it was this whole thing where the whole situation is just different. It's weird. It's just different. But I had told him, I understand I cannot deny you this. So I said, just make sure that you are getting the help that you need. I cannot deny him, but I want to make sure that I am watching out for my son. And please just make sure that you are getting the help. And please, for my peace of mind, just show me that you are getting help and that you are taking the medication and that you're trying to be stable so that you can be, an emotional, stable person for my son, our son. And then July, like I said, during July, I was out in Vegas with family, and she was starting to get really, she was triggering some of the things. If you guys are new to DB, there's sometimes triggers, things from the past that you remember that make you feel like you're there again, or you just get these feelings of just agony. I don't even know how to explain it. But it was just, now that I think about it, she knew a lot about me, because she would say a lot of specific things that were, that she felt or that had happened to her. And she was just like, the triggers was just to where just hearing a radio station that was talking about cheating would just trigger me, and I'm just like I would just feel like I couldn't deal with it. Like, I felt like I wanted to cry. Like, triggers are weird. It was just, I would feel like this horrible feeling inside, just little things that she would bring up that I knew happened in my relationship, that just the feelings of, triggers suck. So June, July, lots of triggers for me, because she was starting to contact me a lot, and it was just nonstop. Like, I would get within an hour like 30 something messages or more. It was just on and on and on. I was on vacation, and I had to try to find a place to talk to her, because she just needed to talk to somebody on the phone. Like, I was trying to be a good support. And then in July, my boyfriend and I broke up because it was too much, because I was getting triggers and it was just too much. Like, I was just emotional. Like, one day I just broke up crying, it's just like, I was like, I can't stop the feelings that I'm feeling. And he had insisted like I cut communication with her. But I didn't, because I felt like I had a duty. Like I have a duty for this person. She's struggling. Like I honestly thought she was struggling. So July comes around, we broke up, and then I felt it was like, you know what? This is not fair. I feel that I've always been the better person, or the adult. And with the whole situation, you know, I was like, I don't want to break the rules. I'm trying to give him, you know, the visitation, but I never had closure with why things happened. Like, I'm like, well, why was he so aggressive? Why did he feel like he had to do this? So I did contact him in July, and I called him and I said, can we talk? And he said, yeah. And that's when we talked. And I said, well, first of all, I said, I kind of want to get some clarification. If this is not okay, please let me know. But the thing is that I'm struggling a lot with triggers, and I don't want them anymore. I said, I don't want to feel that if I'm around a certain situation that I have to feel a certain kind of way, kind of a thing. And he said, okay. And we talked through some stuff. And it's funny because some stuff that we talked through that were terrifying for me, for him, it was like he didn't even see it that way. And it's just, you know, it got us into talking. And it's like, dude, like that, when you do that, it is scary. You may not see it as intimidation, but that shit, sorry for my bad words, but like, you don't understand with a person that is non-aggressive, a person that like that's not used to that is not like a fighter, like that to them is terrifying. And then that conversation led into we talked on the phone for like 4 hours, but I think like during like towards 3 hours of just getting clarification. That's when because I was being really honest about stuff. I'm like, when this situation happened, I was like, what was going on in your head? Like, why? I don't know why I needed an explanation, but I felt because in court it was denied so much. And then whenever we had these conversations with a policeman or anything, it was always, there was never a clarification. It was always his side and my side. It was nice to see, it was closure where it was like, he said what he thought, and I'm just like, you understand? It was a good conversation. But when we were in that place of being able to talk, he did bring up and he asked, is it true? He says, my fiance says that you were trying to get her to write a letter so that you can go to court and remove my visitations with my son. And that's what started a different conversation between us. And that's when we found out that this woman was playing me. This person that she said that she had been in a DV situation before with her first husband, or I don't know what, the one before, when she was in the psych ward before my ex-husband. Her ex-husband was abusive to her. This victim person was, and I still don't understand her purpose, but we started linking the fact that she was trying to get me to remove his rights to see his son. Which, to us, it was weird. And that got us into like conversation, like, what is going on? And that's when I told him, like, no, like, when I was talking to her, it was mostly her talking about her situation herself, and her always telling me that she was just trying to watch out for me and my son and to remove visitation. And that she would even say that, I mean, you know, that, oh, she wouldn't mind giving me letters so that I can send them to court, and that she would go to court with me. And it wasn't something that I was even in my mind. I was, you know, it wasn't even relevant at the time. It still isn't. But the whole situation just came, and it was very traumatic for me, because I'm seeing this person who I thought I was helping and who was a previous victim kind of use that for her own purposes. And the only thing that makes sense to me was the fact that she just needs help. I understood that she was on a psych ward, and I know that she has other personality disorders. I get that. But it doesn't stop the fact that I was hurt by just how invested she was in. I don't know what her intent was. I've never had spoken to this woman until she contacted me this year. And that really shook me a lot. Because like I said, I thought I was being helpful. Fast forward to now, and this is the conversation that I want to start, is so right now we're talking how an abuse becomes an abuser. So this is an adult that was abused. I don't know about her childhood, but I know for a fact in her adulthood she was abused. And then she, for whatever intent, she was on purpose triggering me and this and that. And then I found out because of stuff that she said, and then I was given proof by my ex-husband that they were together the whole time. It's so confusing. But then we ended up realizing, and this is what I've been seeing, is the fact that my abuser, for as long as he's been with her, has been psychologically and emotionally abused by a person that was abused. And it's something I don't believe, and it's messed up when people, because I brought this up to people that I'm close to, and they said, well, that's karma. That's messed up. Nobody deserves, I wouldn't even, like I said, this lady was really mean to me, and when she said she needed help, I tried to be there for her. So domestic violence, whether it's financially, sexual, emotional, psychological, physical, any kind, it's not okay. It's not wished upon anybody. You have a very pathetic mind if you think that, or if you think that you can have that kind of control over someone else's life. You're screwed up. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. That is not okay. It is not okay to manipulate people, and it just, you can't be destroying people like that. You can't. This is stuff that, you would think as a DV victim, you would understand how horrible it feels, how helpless it feels to be put in that position where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anyways, so we ended up figuring out that this person that was once a victim was actually becoming an abuser. And my ex-husband was having a hard time coping with it because you were just like, what is going on? And I was like, when I was like, I don't know what's going on with you guys, but I really don't want anything to do with it because it is affecting me emotionally. I can't. And I've realized that as an advocate, I've been a really big advocate about it, but I think it's okay when you feel like something is just, I think the situation is just too close together and they know too much about me, that for me to continue to be helpful is going to destroy me. And I need space, and like I told him, I understand that there may have been, because I know there was a physical altercation from him to her, and I know there's a restraining order. I've also seen and experienced the psychological, emotional abuse that she does, and then I'm wondering how do they. His thing is, how do you how can he get help if he feels that he's not going to be believed? And like I told him, I said, you know what? Yes, you are an abuser. You had an altercation with her. And that's something that you'll always be, what does he call it? Guilty of. Like, what you've done, you will always be guilty of. Also, the psychological and emotional abuse that's going on, and that has been going on for months, that you can't change her. You can't change if she has a personality disorder. You can't change if she may be an impulsive liar. You can't change a person. The only thing that you can possibly do is either find ways to cope with the wrong that was done to you. And I said, you know what? You may feel judged because you were an abuser, but you need to find help. You need to talk to a therapist and be honest. And I mean, it's a very different situation. And I can see why he may feel like he's going to be judged. And he might be judged because he had 2 relationships that were abusive. At the same time, I feel like I said before, nobody deserves abuse in their life. And even though he's kind of destroyed by seeing how a lot of the truth that was there is being denied or twisted or just straight out lied about, I think that destroys any victim. Any victim is going to be destroyed by the fact that the truth is being distorted. It's being lied about. It's being pushed aside. And this is a message for anybody in DV circumstances, whether you are somebody that's being abused or you are somebody that may have been an abuser. There's so many factors that come into somebody that becomes an abuser. Like I said, sometimes it's somebody that's been abused becomes an abuser. And then, like in this instance, this person that was abused was an abuser as an adult and now is a victim of emotional and even economical. So it was economical, psychological, and emotional. Those are real things. Yeah, it may be embarrassing for guys to admit that there is DV, but guess what? There is DV towards men. And guess what? People that were abusive can get abused. And guess what? We need to make resources for them.